All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Radio. It's an early show today. We're on at 4 o'clock Eastern. I've never done a show at this time period, and I'm doing it for a very good reason, because today, DEANA MARTIN is the guest on the show, the woman of the hour. And this is Comic Book Radio episode 191. I, of course, am your host, Peter Cimetti. Before we bring on DEANA, I want to say a quick hello to those of you in the chat that are here nice and early for this show today. We also have a Dean Martin emoji now in the chat, so feel free to use it. Ara Galenian, what's up, Ara? Hope you're doing well. And if you guys have any questions for DEANA, please leave them in the chat. We'll do our best to get to them in the time allotted today. Seer of All That Is Obvious. Oh, I answered that question. Yes, that was Gail Martin singing with Nancy in the beginning, and then it was Tina singing with DEANA later on. Reverend Saber, what's up, Reverend Saber? Hope you're doing well. We got Adam Warlock here, too. How's it going, Adam? What Geeks Do Network, what's up? What Geeks Do says, excited for an early show. I'm excited, too. I'm very, very excited. And those of you that know me or have watched the show know that I'm a huge Dean Martin fan. I was almost going to bring my 30 to 35 records and just have them sit there. And I decided not to. But absolutely love Dean Martin. I'm always listening when I am writing and creating. And yesterday on the Draw Stream was playing Dino, along with a bunch of others too. Wayne, what's up, Wayne? Thank you for being here. We got AL here too. How's it going, AL? And Derek as well. What's up, Derek? Okay, without further ado, let's bring her on. The woman of the hour, Miss DEANA MARTIN.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet my daughter, DEANA.
Oh, there's DEANA.
Hello, DEANA.
Hello. Oh, I love that clip. I show that whenever I do a show. And then right after he says, I'd like you to meet my daughter, DEANA, I come out singing, Ain't That a Kick in the Head? So thank you for doing that.
No problem. I must have seen that. It's not Christmas unless I watch that special.
Oh,
so.
Wasn't that a great one? All the Sinatras. Oh, we had so much fun.
Absolutely. So how was your weekend?
What is today?
Monday.
Okay. Oh, my weekend was great. My weekends are great, especially because I do the DEANA MARTIN live show on Fridays. And so it's so much fun. And you know, getting all dressed up, singing all the songs, and you know, making people happy. It's what I try to do, and it makes me a very happy person.
Absolutely. Now, where did that stem from, doing that show every single week? You've been doing it for a while now. You said 212 episodes?
Yes, over 4 years now. It all happened, when COVID started, because all of my shows were canceled. And so I had a lot of people who had bought tickets, and I said to Rosario, my fabulous assistant, Rosario, I said, what am I going to do? And she said, well, why don't you do a Facebook Live show? I said, what's that? So we took my iPhone, put it on a tripod right here behind me in my rehearsal room. And, I did some songs and, told a few, corny jokes and people loved it. I couldn't believe how many people were watching it. And now I ended up number one on Polestar. Out of hundreds of thousands of people who watch it, so it's 213. I think is this week, 213 shows. Fantastic!
That's incredible.
It is.
Wow.
And it's good work, because you're doing all those shows.
Oh so yeah. I'm trying to catch up to you. I'm going to get there soon.
Okay, good. 191.
191. This one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. But when you were starting off with that in particular, what was that kind of like for you? Was that uncharted territory, and how did you get used to it over time?
Well, yes. Well, it was uncharted. The best part about it is, I could just come right here into my rehearsal room. So it's good. And, and I have my handsome husband, John, on music, because I have all of my TV tracks that are from all my albums. So I have them without my voice on it. So we would put it down here, and this is where I come down and rehearse, excuse me, and so I can just play my songs and sing. So John takes care of the music, and we write some jokes, and Rosario's sitting there on her computer, so we do comments, so we, people ask questions, and it's been absolutely amazing doing it. And I've gotten used to it, and it's as I say, a lot of work, but we're making so many people happy, and it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it to me.
Oh yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Let's go back a little bit further than that now. I want to go back to, what's your earliest memory in terms of being around music, knowing that your dad wasn't just your dad, but that he was Dean Martin, and he was this larger than life figure to so many people?
Pretty incredible, isn't it? And now I started because I was given piano lessons and ballet lessons and tap lessons, and actually I learned how to tap from Buddy Epson. Buddy Epson had a dance school, and he was very tall. So I started learning things, and it was great. And so when all of a sudden were my brothers and sisters and we were down in Westwood, California, and we were standing in line to see a movie, and I looked up, and it was Dean Martin and John Wayne starring, and I went, wow, that's my dad, because I just knew him from home. I didn't see his name up there, big in lights with John Wayne, and people are going, oh, we're going to see Dean Martin and John Wayne in Rio Bravo or something. I'm going, oh, I guess people like him. I said, wow.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. People are talking about my dad. So that was the first time, I think, just seeing his name up on the big billboard, there at I think it was the Westwood or the Bruin in Westwood, California.
Wow. Incredible. So with him being such a larger than life character and immortalized in the minds and hearts of so many, what was he like at home as your dad? Was what you saw is what you get, or was there... was he even better and nicer and more awesome?
He was better, and he was awesome. He was funny. Everybody wanted to come to our house because Dad was so much fun. And I have to say, he was sweet and funny, and he was strict. He was an Italian father, because if we did something wrong, then you would hear from your brothers and sisters. I had 6 brothers and sisters. You'd hear, "Oh, Deana, you're going into the den tonight." What? The den? Yeah, Dad's calling you into the den. Uh-oh, what did I do? So I go into the den, and then I could hear him walking, and then he'd open the den door, and he'd close the door, and the tears would come down. He'd go, now tell your mom I was really tough on you, okay? And don't ever be late for dinner again. Then he'd walk out, and that was it. And I haven't been late for dinner since that time when I was 15 years old, because it was just, he was the sweetest, nice, but don't ever do that again. Tell your mom I was tough on you, okay? And we were good kids. It was just, as I say, he was fun and funny, and it was a good childhood.
The respect level must have been there for you guys big time.
It was, absolutely it was. And I remember, and I would be driving down the street, and I remember a policeman pulling me over, and he said, now Deana, he said, you know me? He says, oh, yeah, we all know you. We know your dad, and I just wanted to tell you, keep driving. You're doing a good job, and tell your dad, we love him. It was the Beverly Hills Police Department. I was scared. They pulled me over and said, don't worry, you're doing a good job. Everybody knew Dean Martin, and everybody loved Dean Martin. And that's who he was. He was just a good guy. He was home every day, for dinner. If he wasn't going to Las Vegas to do a show, then he would get up in the morning and go play golf. He loved to play golf. He said, Deana, the reason why I work so hard is so I can pay for you kids and play golf. And, that's how he was. It's who he was. And I remember one time going to the driving range with him, and he would sit and hit bucket after bucket of balls. He'd say, now keep your head down, don't bend your elbow, and swing through the ball. And that's just what made him happy. Having the kids, singing his songs, and playing golf. He loved it.
Oh, yeah. He was known as a family man, too. For those that actually look into his career, his life, and things like that it wasn't this big party scene or whatever. He was always at home for dinner.
Yeah.
And no matter what, with the busy schedule, the day ahead, all the, Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., like all these people around him. And meanwhile, he's like, I got to go home and I got to be with my family.
That's right. He did. And, and I think in those days, I don't know if it was taps on the bottom of his shoe, but it's something on the heel of the shoe so that it wouldn't wear down. And so you could tell when he came in the back door, walking through the kitchen, walking past the laundry room, say hi to Claudia, and then he'd come in. Dad's here, because we could hear him, from, all over the house from those little taps on his shoes. And he would walk into the kitchen and go over to the bread little box, get out a piece of Wonder Bread, put butter on it, fold it over, and walk into the den. And he would eat his little piece of bread. And then he'd say, okay, he said, I'm going down to have, a little time with my little Jeannie. And so we'd go down into the bar, sunken bar. He'd have a Michelob on tap, and they would sit there for about a half hour or an hour. And because that was his alone time with her, my little Jeannie. And then we'd all go in and have dinner together, and, watch TV. And, that was it. Or he'd go upstairs and study his lines if he was making a movie. And he was just nice.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, for you, in terms of getting into your career, did you always want to follow in your father's footsteps, or was there something else that you had wanted to pursue?
Well, I wanted to be an actor. There was never anything else that I wanted to do. I mean, because I just loved singing and dancing and all of that. But I do remember going to the Sands Hotel when I was, very young and sitting, ringside. And then they would say that, the stage would be dark. The whole theater would be dark at the Sands Hotel. Then you'd hear the announcer say, the drum roll, ladies and gentlemen, the Sands Hotel is proud to present, direct from the bar, Dean Martin. And then my dad would walk out in the tuxedo and the red pocket square. And the people around me go, oh, there he is. And I sat there watching him, oh, there he is. And he never sang a song all the way through. And he said, you want to hear a song all the way through? Buy my albums. The people would laugh. And he would tell jokes. And I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to make people feel that, just great. And he sang I think he had the best voice of all of them. Really did. And he could just sing and tell his stories. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. Then I went to Dartington College of Arts because I wanted to be a better actor and all of that, and started doing plays. And it was just something that I always wanted to do. And then singing and, when I started doing the Great American Songbook was really when I was listening to my dad, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's so amazing how he sings. And, so I just followed in those footsteps.
Did he have any words of wisdom for you? Any advice along the way?
Yes, he did. He told me a few things. He said, first of all, treat people the way you want to be treated, and never be late. Always be on time. Don't make anyone wait for you. Be there, hit your mark, know your lyrics, and have a good time. And that was him. Just make sure that everybody is happy. Don't be a jerk. Because that's who he was. It's just be a nice, be on time. Don't make people wait for you. And as he said, treat people the way you want to. And then he would say, sing from your heart. So, okay. Because he never gave me technical, things to do. It was my Uncle Frank who I was asking Frank Sinatra. I said, Uncle Frank, how do you do it? How do you get that great tone? He said, oh, Deana, it's all about the diaphragm. He said, I take in a big breath, I push from the diaphragm, and I can tell even before I hit a note if it's going to be on key or not. I said, really? Does my dad do that? He says, no, your father has no idea what he's doing. He just does it. And it's true, because my dad just said, sing.
Natural.
That was it. That was him.
He was really known too with his show, kind of doing his routine, golf in the morning and whatever, and show up, and then no real rehearsals or anything, and then go out and do the show. Why do you think he felt that way about not wanting to do a rehearsal?
He didn't want it to get old. He wanted it to stay fresh, and because he loved, and he's the one who taught me, just if you make a mistake, keep it in. It's funny. It's good. Just don't because we do this show, of course, live, and that's a lot of stuff. Live going all over the world. So you make a mistake, it's live. It's okay. And he wanted to keep it fresh. And he started doing that, when he was with Jerry Lewis, because he didn't want to he didn't want to go to the rehearsals, didn't want to do any of that, because it was more spontaneous that way. And that's who he was. But he knew all of his songs. Because when he would get up in the morning to go play golf, he had all of the music on a cassette. Remember cassettes? Or it was probably even before that. And so he put it into the, his cart and listened to his songs. So he knew his songs. Then he would show up on Sunday afternoon at NBC after he played golf. He'd sit down, he'd go through the cue cards once, and that was it. Put on his tuxedo and just unbelievable what he could do.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, he also had, and your assistant, Rosario, was so kind to show it to me, showed me comic books, the adventures of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
That's right. We have him here. Unbelievable. So you don't have one of those comics?
I don't have any.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to have to track some down.
Yes, you will. And, it's funny. Let me see. Jimmy Monaco is the one who's the biggest Dean Martin fan in the world. He has everything. He has Scotch tape that's Martin and Lewis. Okay, he has the puppets. He's got everything, and he's the one that sent me some of those comic books. Just spectacular to see them. Martin and Lewis, they were amazing. And then just Martin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What did Dean think of being in a comic book? Was he aware of it?
I don't. You know what? Well, here's the thing. He would read the comics. When it would come on Sunday, he would read them, and I didn't understand it, but he liked them. So he loved reading the comic books, and he read them. And, it's kind of funny to me. I don't know why, but it's he loved comics.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob wants to say hello. Says, love Dean. Hi, Deana. Great show.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
And anybody else wants to say hello to Deana, please feel free. If you guys got questions too. Oh, actually, we have one question here, and this is kind of a question I was going to get to, so this works out. It says, what did Dean Martin think of Elvis Presley? Were there any interactions between the two?
Actually, my dad, of course, my sisters and I, of course, we were in love with Elvis. And he liked Elvis. I mean, he did. And in fact, I believe that they sang 22 of the same songs. That's pretty amazing, when I hear about it. But, Elvis loved my dad because, just that beautiful, voice. And I'm trying to think of some of the songs, but my dad liked Elvis. At first he thought, oh, what's he doing? All that moving. But he said, you know what? That's kind of cool. and it was.
And it was Elvis, wasn't it, that dubbed Dean the King of Cool?
Yes, he told me that. I went to see my dad at Paramount Studios, and he was Elvis Presley was making a movie there, and Dad was making the movie. And so I remember standing out, and I think, Dad's dressing room, when you'd walk out, you were in the parking lot, and, that's when cars would come by, and you come on your bicycle or a golf cart. And I walked out from the dressing room, and I see this man coming up on a bicycle. And as he gets closer, I see it's Elvis Presley. So I'm going, oh, it's Elvis Presley. And he gets off the bike, and, he said to me, because he knew, it's Dean Martin's dressing room. He said, they call me the king of rock and roll, but your dad is the king of cool. And I said, now I've got to breathe now. Elvis is touching me, and he says, my dad's the king of cool. So it must be true. And it was true. Elvis was the king of rock and roll, and it's still true. Dad was the king of cool.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Ara wants to say hello. Says, hi, Deana.
Ara?
Yep.
That's a pretty name.
And Awesome One says, hi from me and my mom.
Oh, where are you?
Yeah, I don't know. Where are you, Awesome One? What part of the world are you? Let's see. We got another question here from Crenshaw. Wants to know, I remember hearing that before hitting it big, Dean and a friend would get paid to bare-knuckle punch each other until one would get knocked out for big spenders at casinos. Is it true? I know he was like an amateur boxer, but I don't know if that particular story is true.
He was in Golden Gloves and, things like that. So he, I remember Rocky Marciano coming up. But And Lou Alcindor. Things are coming back to me right now. But Dad loved to box, and he was in Golden Gloves. And I don't know that ever happened, but that would be crazy.
I've never heard that story.
No. And
Interesting.
yeah.
So I have to ask you something in particular. This was something when I was getting prepared for our conversation. I was watching some interviews with you. I didn't want to ask too many of the same questions, but this one I noticed not many people touched upon, and I found this interesting show, The Dating Game.
Oh, yes.
And you had picked Steve Martin before he became Steve Martin that we all know. How did that go down?
That was, and boy, was I lucky when I saw the other ones. But because it was after, and I think Steve was in the middle. But he answered one of my questions. I said, where would we go if on our first date? And I think he said to Western costume or something. And I thought, Western costume? That would be kind of funny, to do and see all those costumes. Because I had gone there with, people in my family when we went to see Dad's the clothes from Rio Bravo, come to think about all the cowboy clothes. And it was interesting to see Tweedledee and Tweedledum's outfits, So when he said Western costuming, I thought, well, he's got a good sense of humor. We had no idea. He was a writer at that time for the Smothers Brothers. And, I didn't know that, but I was so glad that I picked him. He was funny and fun. And we went to Portofino, Italy. That was our dream date.
How was it there?
Yeah, it was fun. I got horribly sick. I got, I ended up with a fever because you end up, you get on a plane, you get a taxi to the airport. The airport, you go from LA to New York and then New York to London. And then you get on a thing. And so it was planes and boats and trains. And by the time we got there, I was sick. And, but Portofino was beautiful. He was fun. And the chaperone, he was fun too. So it was a good time.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was he was a wild and crazy guy.
And when he came out too, you wouldn't have to worry about, oh no, are we related? Because of course your last name being Martin, but that's a legal change.
That's right. That's right. In fact, my brother Craig is the only one who was born a Crosetti. Because Dad legally changed his name after that, so all the rest of us were born Martins. And but I was just thinking about my grandfather today, Gaetano Crocetti, because I have his birth certificate here. He was born in Montalcivano, Italy, and in 1863 or something. And I was just thinking about him. He came over Ellis Island. He was an immigrant, Ellis Island, and went to Steubenville, became a barber. And, worked his way, he did it. And he married my grandmother, Angela Barra. And, they made a nice home. They had two sons. One was William and one was Dino. And one became an attorney and the other became Dean Martin. It was pretty amazing. A little town in Steubenville, Ohio, all little Italians. And, it's quite remarkable.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
That opportunity, the land of opportunity, absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, my grandfather had a similar story. I'm half Sicilian, half Chinese.
Oh.
And my Sicilian grandfather came through, went to the Ellis Island, everything checked in with my uncle at the time, who was one of the oldest that could come with him, and established a carpentry career and did a lot of intricate kind of carving and stuff like that. So you never know. You never know. And I know many people have a similar story with their parents and grandparents that came over.
That's right. I think if you work hard, get up, work hard, try and keep yourself nice and healthy. I think working is one of the most important things to do. And, whether it's being a mom, that's work, a dad, and that's work. Get up and do something, make something of your life. And, that's what my dad taught me. And my mom, of course. But, get up and do something with your life and smile and have a good time.
Absolutely. This is a comment for you. Says, hi, Deana. Hope all is well. You turning COVID cancellations into a live show on YouTube is really cool. Wishing you all the success, and it's nice to know Dean was such a family man off stage.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. And it was just, it was luck, and it was trying to, keep everything together. And, that's what we did. So, yeah, turning COVID into something positive was good. And there was a lot of people that were stuck at home or in their one little room and they couldn't get out. So we thought, that's good. And they depended on that show. Every Friday, at 4 o'clock Eastern, they could turn that on and have a little, get a little humor and fun.
And you stuck with it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we did. Well, so many people, and there are all the comments that we get and all the letters. They say, you got me through, my heart attack. You got me through this, and thank you for that, and you made me laugh. And I'm going, how can I stop? How can I stop doing this? Because there's still a lot of people who are stuck at home and they just enjoy the show, and that's what it's like paying back. It's something that I love to do.
Absolutely. Now, do you have a favorite memory of your time, not just with your father, but just in general when you were doing music, acting? Anything that stands out in particular that you really look back at fondly?
Oh gosh, there were so many wonderful times, I have to say. But one of my favorite times, and I have to say, is that Christmas show with the Martins and Sinatras, when we were all there singing, and it was everybody together. And and Tina Sinatra, of course, Tina and I, we grew up, went to Marymount, and Nancy is a dear friend, and Frankie Jr. So it was just to be able to be with them at Christmas time and, to sing those songs. It's such a special moment in my lives and in the history of people watching, all of this and, loving Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. And it was just really, that stands out to me. And I've done a lot of things, done a lot of plays and TVs and, movies and shows. But that one is just, it was the tops.
Well, it's a beautiful time capsule of a show, and something too that even when it's not Christmas, every now and then I'll put it on just because it was great. It was a really wonderfully put together show, and you can really sense the camaraderie between everybody. And Dean and Frank had such great chemistry, and it was just wonderful to see the interaction between you guys with your father. Really great.
Yeah, well, he was fabulous, and so was Uncle Frank, and the whole thing. To watch them doing it was a medley of songs, just the two of them singing, and then Frank would turn around and run, and then come back.
Yeah, when they're like outdoing each other, that was fantastic.
Exactly. Just great to watch them, and it was just I've been very lucky and very blessed to have all these people in my life, and and to learn from the best. And they were good guys.
It's great to hear. What was it like growing up and seeing these kinds of people coming over, seeing Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., other people even coming over and being around? What was that like?
It was amazing. I'd come downstairs and there's Sammy Kahn sitting at the piano writing Time After Time. Or a parody from my dad, because he would write all the parodies, Sammy Kahn. And I remember one, he was doing it, and it was, let me see. I've sewn a costume to her face. I'm like, wait a minute. He was just so nutty. All those, great little parodies that he would do. And he was sitting there in the living room. I'm going, he wrote Time After Time. And he did all of these songs, and he's right here. And then Dad would come in and he would sing. Or, at Christmas Eve, Rod Stewart is there. Ringo is there, so it's like, wow, it's a pretty cool house to be in. Pretty amazing, yeah. And, I have to tell you, at my 18th birthday party, I had the Byrds. The Byrds, they were my, the group. They were playing at my party out at
wow.
The Byrds. And, I think our next door neighbors, they said that they called and the Martins were making too much noise. They got this rock and roll going on outside. And then the next day, my dad said, I'm the one who called the police on you. What? You called the police on my party. He said, there's too much noise. We didn't stop the
Oh
party.
my lord.
Yeah. Well, it was the Beverly Hills police. They came over. They said, Deana, people are complaining. I said, okay, come on in, have some fun. So it was a pretty amazing life.
Wow, fantastic. I do have a couple questions that are from the chat, but also from me. This one in particular, and feel free to go into it as much or as little as you want.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Maybe you don't know too much about it. Maybe you do. In regards to Dean and Jerry Lewis, I know at one point Sinatra had kind of orchestrated something to have a reconciliation between the two. And it was very nice. But did something come of it after that?
Well, you know what? That was on the MDA telethon, I believe, because we would watch the MDA telethon all the time. My dad and Jerry started it. In fact, they had asked, my dad was the very first one to do the telethon. And we would watch it through the years, the tote board, and you'd see how much money they were, raising for muscular dystrophy. And so it was something that we would always do, even when Dad and Jerry split up. Then Jerry went on to do the show, and we still watched it, of course. And then Frank Sinatra brought my dad on one of the shows. I can't remember what year it was. And the great line is when they hugged each other. And I think Jerry said to my dad, now Dad had the #1 TV show almost for 9 years by then, or 10 years, #1. And Jerry said, so you've been working? Okay, it's like they had never, separated or anything like that. And, but, and then Dad got a call from Jerry and they would talk, but they didn't, get back together. And, Dad was playing golf and, those days were over. But I did the MDA telethon with Jerry, many times after that. And he was my pally.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So they buried the hatchet, essentially.
Yeah.
Or whatever was there. That's great.
Yeah, it was. And, for my dad, it was just, Jerry ended up, he's an amazing, he's amazing at what he does, but he wanted to control so much. He wanted to do the lighting, the directing, the camera work and, the catering or whatever. And my dad just wanted to come in, do the show and leave. And then it just got to be too much for him. And, so he said, yeah, I think it's time. And so they stopped. But they talked after that, of course.
That's great. Yeah, we had a question here from Bob was asking about that. And a couple people had asked, because I had let people know that you were coming on the show on Monday. And that was one of the more popular questions, was wanting to know, was there any ever a reconciliation between the two? So it's good to hear that they buried the hatchet and moved on.
But then, for Dad, he just wanted to get up and go play golf or go do his show. And, so that was him. But they were both very happy that they did do that. And me too, because I love Jerry.
Yeah, that's great. So with your career, you did a lot of not just music, but acting as well. Over the course of that time, being in films and everything else as well, what kind of experiences did you have with that? Who did you meet along the way? Anything that really stands out in your mind?
Let's see. Well, meeting, it's an incredible, occupation to be an actor and to get there. And when I did, I'm trying to think, I think it was Young Billy Young was the name of the movie. And first it was named Who Rides with Wyatt. And it was starring Robert Mitchum, Bobby Walker Jr., David Carradine, and me. And so we went up to, I'm trying to think, it was somewhere in Tucson, Old Tucson Street or something. So it was that first day of shooting when, you're sitting there with it was when our first read through. You got your script and everybody's sitting around going, that's Robert Mitchum. Oh my gosh, we're just sitting here doing this. He worked with my dad. And so then we're reading our lines. And so it was just the fact of being there, reading lines with Robert Mitchum and Bobby Walker Jr. and David Carradine, and John Carradine was there too. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely fabulous. I love doing this. And that was the easy part. But when you're learning your lines, and as you know, my dad said, always know your lines and listen. He said, just listen to the other person. And, because acting is not real tough. Just listen and you'll feel it. So, but I'd gone to acting school, as I say, Darlington. So I had all of these ways of, how do you cry? Okay. For me, if I could just sing Porgy and Bess, I'll start crying. I love you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. And that'll make me cry. So, well.
As far as your father's songs go, you've sung many of them over the course of your career. Any stand out in particular as being a favorite, or one maybe maybe it means so much it's almost too difficult to sing?
Sorry.
Oh,
Time.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll answer this one and then I'll be.
Okay.
Thank you. One of my favorites of his is "I Will." I don't want to be the one to say I'm gonna miss you, but I will. There's just something with that little lilt in his voice that I've always loved that song. Of course, everybody loves somebody, but every song that he sang, is just beautiful. And of course, I always do "Memories Are Made of This," and I have, backup singers come up out of the audience and, sing "Sweet, Sweet, the memories you gave to me," because everybody could be Dina's divas and they get up and they sing. And that's amore. But there's something about "I Will" that just, and the more I listen to all of his songs, he's remarkable to me.
Well, he's great at communicating emotion, absolutely. That's what I find really stands out compared to some of the other greats.
Yeah.
That Dean really, you felt the emotion that he felt. If there was sorrow, "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry," the Hank Williams cover, is tremendous.
Yeah.
But
he was. He was magnificent at it. And I remember going to Capitol Studios in when he was recording "Memories Are Made of This," and that was his first #1 hit with "That's More." Sitting there and watching him, I said, "Yeah, got to do that," because he had fun with all the musicians, because it's the whole big band right there, the orchestra, and he's singing live with them. I said, that's what I have to do.
Fantastic. Well, Deana, I know you got to run. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It meant the world to me, and I hope it meant the world to everybody, too, that's been watching. It's fantastic. But before you go, anything coming up for you? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to give a shout-out to?
Gosh, yeah, I think so. I can't remember what it is now. I mean, a lot of things. We're going to be doing a tour in Australia. So if you have anybody from Australia, that's going to be about a month. But I have things coming up in Vegas and where else? In Chicago. So, but I'll post them, on DEANAMartin.com, and so I'll let people know. But it's I love doing this work, and I've been so blessed. And thank you. You've been very good. You've made this a very a good interview. You
Good.
Did your homework.
I hope it was fun.
Well, you know what? I did one interview one time with someone. He said, "So, what do you do?" God, you're interviewing me, and you're
So you sing. What's that like?
Yeah, right. Oh, it was great. But thank you for being you. And this has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again one of these days.
Okay.
I got so many more questions and so much more conversation to have, but I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Deana.
We'll let you know what's coming up next.
All right. Fantastic. Really appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, really appreciate you guys, too. Hope you guys are doing well out there. All the best to you. Deana, thank you again so much for being generous with your time. Everyone, have a wonderful day and an even better tomorrow. I'll see you guys soon. All the best.
All right. Bye-bye.